welcome to EduSearch Clinics. I am Dr. Gunjan Desai, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this brand new series of EduSearch called Patient Talks. It gives us great pleasure to launch this series on the World Cancer Day, which is an attempt of the Union for International Cancer Control or UICC to spread awareness on cancer and to create action at different levels to educate the masses regarding what is cancer, how it can be treated, why it happens, what are the symptoms when you should meet your doctor, and these all actions in turn will lead to reduction in the number of advanced cancer cases that we see in our country today. So let us dive into the digestive tract cancer awareness series of the Patient Talks. So this is the fourth video of our digestive tract cancer awareness series. And just to brief few of you who have not seen the previous videos, this is an awareness series where we are going to discuss organ by organ of the digestive tract, what causes these cancers. If you are at risk for this cancer, what are the symptoms of digestive tract cancer as per the organ involved, so that you should know when to meet your doctor. So this part focuses on esophagus or the food pipe and the stomach, which is the beginning of the digestive tract. So before we go into detail as per all our videos, I would stress again on the fact that out of nearly 10 million people who die from cancer every year, more than one third of these deaths can be avoided, and we can avoid them by early detection and prevention. How we can do this? Prevention is by lifestyle modification and awareness. So all of you can take action by sharing these videos so that more and more people can be aware of symptoms of cancer and can meet your doctor and prevent cancer from occurring by taking lifestyle measures. Early detection is only possible through awareness and education, and that is why we have started this series. So like each of the videos, first we see where the food pipe or the esophagus and stomach are located. So this is the area. This is an organ which goes from mouth to the tummy or the abdomen. So if we see the conventional digestive system image that most of you have studied, from mouth, this is where the esophagus starts or the food pipe starts, and it takes the food bolus into the stomach. So it is like a travel channel which takes the food bolus into the stomach, and then stomach takes everything further into the small intestine. So to simplify this area, this is the food pipe. What these organs do? Food pipe helps in transit of food from mouth to stomach, as I have already discussed. Stomach is the area where the digestive enzymes are produced as well as acid is produced. Now acid of stomach is important because it helps in digestion as well as acts as an autoclave to kill all the impurities in the food. So it helps fight infection. Stomach also produces a few factors which help in vitamin B12 absorption. And this is important because in stomach diseases, vitamin B12 deficiency, anemia can occur. Again, the movement of stomach helps in mixing of food and digestive juices. So these are the roles of these organs. So now let us see what are the risk factors for esophagus cancer or the food pipe cancer first, and then we will see risk factors for the stomach cancer. So tobacco in any form, because this area of the digestive tract is so close to the mouth, that tobacco consumption in any form can produce esophageal cancer, and this in fact is the most common risk factor for food pipe cancer. Alcohol again is a risk factor. Consuming very hot tea or coffee produces injury to the food pipes cells, and that again can lead to cancer in the long term. Obesity and physical inactivity can again be risk factors for food pipe cancer. So if you see these first four, these have been common throughout the videos, and this is the main part of this awareness series. Stop tobacco, limit alcohol intake, and be active in your lifestyle. At least 30 minutes in a day for exercise and 250 minutes in a week. This can help you prevent many cancers and many other diseases in your life. Again, esophagus can have other problems such as pre-existing diseases. So what is reflux? Reflux is usually the food pipe. Food travels from mouth to stomach, that is from above downwards. However, sometimes if the esophagus loses its power, the stomach can propel the food into the esophagus, and this is known as reflux. Again, other diseases of esophagus, which is achalasia or narrowing of the esophagus. So, reflux happens, as I've already explained, reflux happens when the bolus goes in other direction. That is when the esophagus loses its power. Achalasia is when the esophagus does not dilate, when it remains contracted. This can also lead to retention of products in the esophagus, which can irritate the cells of the esophagus and lead to cancer. Iron deficiency anemia, there is a syndrome called Plummer-Vinson syndrome, which again is a risk factor for esophageal cancer. Anemia is low hemoglobin. When you feel fatigued, when you feel tired, that is anemia. So again, the scope for prevention is there if we limit the first four factors and if we treat the pre-existing disease, that is scope for early detection. So these pre-existing disease patients should be in surveillance. So if you have any of these diseases or any of these symptoms, contact your doctor and be in regular follow-up to detect disease early if it arises. Again, I would stress that not all these patients will have cancer, but this group forms a target of screening. We cannot test all the patients in the community. We cannot do community drives, and that would be very expensive, and it's not practically feasible to test millions and crores of people. However, if you fall into this category, it helps us to select you for screening so that we can detect the disease early. Non-modifiable risk factors are hereditary disorders, though these are not very common. Barrett's esophagus is chronic esophagitis basically, just like we had chronic hepatitis in liver cancer, chronic pancreatitis in pancreatic cancer. Similarly, long-standing esophagitis produces some changes in the food pipe or esophagus, which is known as Barrett's esophagus. Again, it is more common in males and age more than 55. Now, going into stomach cancer, again, tobacco consumption in any form is a very significant risk factor for stomach cancer. There are some dietary factors such as consumption of a lot of processed, especially smoked and salted meat and pickles, obesity, physical inactivity. So, again, the first three factors are those which can be prevented by leading a healthy lifestyle. Pre-existing disease in stomach is a bacterial infection called Helicobacter pylori. This is very common in our population, but if this infection produces a chronic long-standing gastritis, just like esophagitis, hepatitis, pancreatitis, if there is long-standing gastritis due to Helicobacter pylori, this is a risk factor for stomach cancer. Previous gastric surgery, just like in esophagus, the contents from stomach can go into the food pipe in reverse direction. Similarly, the contents from small intestine can go into the stomach, which is known as bile reflux. And this can occur due to previous surgeries and is a risk factor for stomach cancer. As I told, stomach has a function of absorption of vitamin B12 by producing a factor. So, severe vitamin B12 deficiency, or what is known as atrophic gastritis and pernicious anemia, again is a risk factor for stomach cancer. Epstein-Barr is a virus, just like coronavirus, common cold virus. Epstein-Barr is a virus, and this can produce gastric lymphomas more commonly, which is a type of stomach cancer. So again, we know there is scope for prevention, and I don't need to repeat this now. For pre-existing diseases, if we treat H. pylori, the H. pylori can be cured. So its cure is possible. And for anemia, we need to treat pernicious anemia. So these are the scope for prevention and early detection for stomach cancer. So now going into non-modifiable risk factors for stomach cancer, which are similar to esophageal cancer. There are a few hereditary cancers like hereditary diffuse gastric cancer, colorectal cancer syndrome called HNPCC or the Lynch syndrome, familial adenomatous polyposis, which is again a syndrome which affects colon, small intestine as well as stomach, Life-Romani syndrome and Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. You don't go into details of these names as they are not required for awareness. What is important to know is that if you have a person with cancer in family, especially at a young age, you need to discuss this with your doctor, because again, you form a very selective group of population which can be screened for identification of cancer early so that it can be cured. So again, family history of gastric cancer or personal history of gastric polyps. I will be stressing on these heredofamilial issues in the next video because it is most important in the colon and rectal cancer. So do look into that video as well for understanding when and how family and hereditary factors affect your cancer risk. Again, age and gender are similar, males more than females. The only digestive tract cancer which is more common in females than males is gallbladder cancer and older age. So now once we know the risk factors, if we don't have the risk factors, there is a very less likelihood for prevention. If you have risk factors which are modifiable, do take the changes in your lifestyle as described here so that you can prevent or delay the occurrence of cancer. The symptoms help you in early detection. So let us see the symptoms of esophageal disease. As esophageal is a transit pipe of food, the problem will be difficulty in swallowing, or the food may come back in mouth, which is known as regurgitation. Or when you are swallowing food, you may have pain in the chest or in the upper abdomen where the food pipe is located. Again, loss of appetite, early satiety, and weight loss, which is unintentional, are common cancer related symptoms. If you have anemia, you can have easy fatigue, tiredness, and weakness. Now, since food pipe is in close relation to the entry into lungs, which is trachea, chronic reflux can affect the throat and produce long-standing cough, hoarseness, or change in voice. And this cough is increasingly noticed in night. So if you have a lot of symptoms related to nighttime coughing and reflux, that is again a indication that you should meet your doctor. Since this is food pipe, you can have nausea and vomiting, which may or may not contain blood. And if there is pre-existing reflux or other disease, worsening of symptoms is again a sign that you should meet your doctor. So swallowing related problems, change in voice, long-standing cough, increased nighttime symptoms such as reflux and cough, and red flag cancer symptoms such as bleeding in vomiting or black colored stools or loss of weight and appetite which is not planned are symptoms when you should consult your doctor. Similarly, for stomach disease, you can have regurgitation and chest pain or upper abdominal pain, loss of appetite and loss of weight, easy fatigue, black colored stools, abdominal bloating, nausea, and vomiting. So now if you can see, this is why we have clubbed these two organs because the symptoms are more or less same. The only change is that stomach cancers predominantly have significant loss of weight and loss of appetite, and these patients have regurgitation, but they do not have difficulty in swallowing. So this is the difference. Also, black colored stools, tarry stools called melena, due to presence of blood in stools, are more common in stomach disease compared to esophageal disease. So what are the preventive strategies for upper GI cancer? Now that you know the risk factors and the symptoms, the key aim of this awareness series is prevention and early detection. So we have already discussed this, but to summarize, the preventive strategies are changes in diet. As this is food pipe, it is affected by food. So increase fresh fruits and vegetables and avoid smoked, salted and pickled processed food, especially processed meats. In lifestyle, quit or moderate alcohol and absolutely quit smoking. Weight control and exercise again help. Pre-existing diseases for esophagus or stomach. If you have chronic esophagitis, get it treated. Hemoglobin, get it checked. If it is low, get it treated. Helicobacter pylori gastritis, again an easily treatable disease, so get it treated and you have cure for all these diseases. And if they get cured, the risk of cancer goes down significantly. Again, if there is hereditary syndromes or family history, go for genetic counseling and surveillance. We will discuss when you should select family history as a criteria to meet your doctor in the colorectal disease as well. And there we have highlighted these points in detail. So stay tuned for the next video. So how to identify issues early? If you see any of these symptoms, meet your doctors as soon as possible. All patients with chronic esophagitis, which is Barrett's, or chronic or long-standing gastritis should be aware of these points. So share this video to everyone. Educate everyone in your society, your neighborhood, your family and your colleagues. Follow up regularly with your doctor. And the screening for these organs can be in the form of a scan, which is a CT scan or a PET scan, CEA blood test, an endoscopy or a barium swallow. So these are the tests that you can do to screen these two organs. So I hope this clears the different symptoms and risk factors for food pipe and stomach cancer. Do have a look at the next video, because in that video we will be helping you know how to select yourself for screening based on family history and hereditary risk of cancer. This is a very important area because this is selective screening, and selective screening is the way to go ahead to reduce the number of cancer cases in our society, to detect cancer early, and to help you lead a healthy and happy life. Do share this to your colleagues, as this is an awareness and education series which is free for all, and we have created a more than 2 hours of content for you so that you are aware and educated about the cancer, especially the digestive tract cancer, on this World Cancer Day, 4th February 2021. Thank you.